Good morning, guys. This video is walking you through just how to set up our diffusion gizmo a little bit. You should have your gizmo launched, and you should have your copy of the Gizmo lab document, and we're going to go over a couple different things. So the first couple things, the prior knowledge question and the Gizmo warm-up, it goes through the directions of what to do. You're just kind of making observations and watching to see what's happening and how those movement of the particles changes. Then when you get to question 3, it's asking you to go to the bar chart tab. So I want you to notice that at the top here where it says Gizmo status picture or that page, at the top there's a tab for description, table, bar chart, and then graph. You will have to use these different tabs a few times throughout this lab. So for question 3, like it says, so go to the bar chart. So you'd go to that tab and kind of see how that changes. Then question 4 has you going to the graph, and you may have to scroll back on the graph as you run this simulation to get an accurate answer. Then as we get to activity A, I always suggest you go back to the description page as you initially set everything up. And for this one, you're looking at temperature and diffusion. So when we are in science, we usually use Celsius, or for extreme numbers, we use the Kelvin scale. So that's what this gizmo is using. And it describes what Kelvin should be at for freezing and for boiling. And so what you're going to do is you're going to work through these questions. You're going to make your observations and adjust your gizmo and then answer the questions. Now for your hypothesis, question 2, how do you think temperature will affect the rate of diffusion? Remember, your hypothesis should be an if-then statement. So if temperature increases, then diffusion is going to slow down. Or if temperature increases, diffusion is going to speed up. Something like that, okay? Because that way you can look at your data to see if your hypothesis was correct or not. Then when you get to question 3, always make sure when you are setting up an experiment, you click that reset button just to make sure everything's kind of reset back to normal and you can adjust it how you need to. But you're going to change these little slider variables. So the wall, you can move either to 0 or 100. It wants you to set it to 50. And then the X and A, that's those number of particles, or those little purple particles that you see. It wants you to set it to 100. And then the Y in B, so how many would be over in that B side, is 0. Kelvin is going to go down to 100. And then the particle mass, so that AMU represents atomic mass units, that's going to stay at 15. And then when you're collecting your data for the experiment, it wants you to select the table tab. So when you are in activity A, your experiment should look something like this when you're ready to go. Then you're going to click play, read through the rest of the directions. So once those particles in A reach that 55%, so you're going to be looking at the middle column, you would pause it and record your time to reach equilibrium. So you would just type in a number in this box, and that would be your time, okay? The time is recorded in seconds. So if you want, you can put an S by it as well. That is the abbreviation for seconds, and it helps distinguish what unit we are measuring. Then, like it says, you're going to repeat this 4 more times for the 100 degrees Kelvin. Then you'll reset and you'll move your temperature to 600 degrees Kelvin and do the same thing, run 5 trials and record your data. Question 4 has you calculating the average. So remember to find the average of something, you're going to add up your 5 trials for that temperature, and then you're going to divide that number by 5 and put in your average. Okay, then question 6 just has you, or question 5 has you drawing some conclusions, and question 6 is just extending some thinking. Why do you think the experimental results were different for each trial? Okay, then you should have reset your graph, your simulation here. You can stay on the table chart, but for activity B, we're going to look at wall height. So that's what's going to change. If you go down here, you're going to have your setup A and setup B. So you have 2 trials. And how I set it up is setup A. I gave you all the information you need to set up. And you'll notice that the wall height is 50% in setup A. And then the wall height is 75% in setup B. So we're only changing that one variable so we can see how it affects the rate of diffusion. Then just like with the temperature, you're going to record your times, you're going to find the average, and then answer a couple questions. Then you have activity C. Again, you're going to reset the simulation, and this time activity C is changing the mass of the particle. So that's how heavy it is. So as you go down to the setup A and setup B, you will notice that you have a particle mass of 10 AMU and then a particle mass of 20 AMU. Just like with the other activities, you're going to record your times, you're going to find your average, and then compare. Once you are done with that, then you're completed with this diffusion gizmo, and you can submit it onto Schoology. So we are starting this today. You will have tomorrow to work on this as well. And I don't have it due until Monday. So you do have plenty of time. If you want to just focus on like one activity a day, you can do that. Or if you want to get it all done and submitted, you can do that as well. But please make sure you are working on it. Again, if you have any questions with your login, you can email me. But you should be good to go with this. It's pretty straightforward. Just make sure you're changing those variables and reading through the directions. Have a good day, guys.